What's the biggest legal scam still operating today? 1. Actively shutting down your product when it detects unofficial repairs. I can accept that owners may lose warranty over unofficial repairs, but going as far as completely making the device non-functional after the repair is just corporate speak for you no longer own the physical device you bought, you just have a license to use it, we still own it. If you're going to do that, you have to advertise it that you do not own the device. This kind of shit is why there is call for right to repair. I don't agree that companies should have to honor the warranty of a device that has been tampered with without their authorization, but the said tampering should not be grounds for shutting down the device just because the company that made it doesn't like it. 2. Heads of government programs who give favorable deals to companies then magically get a seat/job at the company or board of directors that they helped. 3. Companies who change their terms of service to force you to pay an annual subscription to continue using a product you have had for years that didn't require a subscription to begin with. I bought Photoshop many years ago, before subscription was a thing. At some point I bought a new computer and wanted to install again. It refused unless I used their subscription system. I messed with it for a while, but ended up making an image file of my old computer's HD, which I now use in VirtualBox whenever I want to use Photoshop. I'm not a pro. That old version of Photoshop still has everything I need. 4. College textbooks. New edition every year, barely any changes, and somehow still $300 plus a pop. And now, because they've realized they're losing on profits due to people buying older editions used and just dealing with it, they've started having codes for quizzes and online assignments and shit that you only get through purchasing the textbook to make sure everyone has to buy the new one. Such a scam. 5. Insider stock trading by Congress people. This one is illegal, but apparently somehow nobody is doing it because there are no cases of insider trading and they are all beating the market. Pelosi just has her husband do all the insider trading for her. 6. Just went to Vegas. Why is there a resort fee on top of booking a hotel room? Why do we have to pay for parking also? Someone learned they could add hidden fees and were successful, so now nearly all of Vegas does it also. 7. Multi-level marketing. Years ago, I got contacted by a friend of a friend from college. He wanted to meet for a drink and discuss some business ventures. I said, sure, I got nothing to lose. After 10 minutes, I realized he was pitching me to join some MLM bullshit. I finished my drink and left him with a bill for wasting my time. 8. Subscriptions. To everything. Streaming kicked it off, then everyone figured out they could bleed us dry, one feature at a time. No ads on your music? Subscribe. Unlimited skips? Subscribe. Remote start and heated seats in winter? Subscribe. Want your toilet to spray water? Subscribe. 9. Timeshares. I honestly don't understand how these still exist. Everyone I've ever talked to who's ever owned one pays way more than they thought for it each year. Never gets to use it like they were promised and can't get rid of it. It's a financial lead weight tied around your neck. God help you if you inherit one, and don't refuse it during the probate process. 10. Herbalife. 15 years ago, I've worked with a guy who was an agent of this company. He often gave me free samples. They knew it was all a scam. Many of their products are just plant and vitamin-based biases, and they know that. It's homeopathy all the way. 11. Just being a politician is a massive scam. Ironically, was never meant to be a full-time job. Our founding fathers stated that implicitly. But now we see poli-science degrees as an actual thing, people who fully pursue politics as a career. Yet we see nothing else, absolutely nothing getting done by actual politicians. The only BS we see them doing is playing God and trading resources and favors with each other like the nobilities of the old. The same Nobel our country was literally founded and escaped to pursue happiness and freedom of oppression from. Our goddamn ancestors would be kicking our asses for literally going backwards in our society for this shit. 12. Insurance companies are one of, if not the only industry in which the goal is to not provide the service that the customer paid for. They will charge you as much as possible upfront via your monthly premium. Pre-existing condition? That's extra. But you got into a car accident that was 100% not your fault? Too bad. Your premium is going up. And then, when it's finally time for insurance to pay up, they take every opportunity to make it as impossible as they can. If there isn't some nuanced legal loophole that they can abuse to deny coverage, then they'll resort to making your life as miserable as possible every step of the process. It's absolutely predatory in every way, and there are basically zero forms of accountability to keep them in check. 13. The predatory nature of student loans. I've been out of school for almost 8 years. When I graduated, my student loan balance was almost $90,000. I have been paying faithfully since graduation, and some even longer since I took a break before finishing. At times when I was on an income-based plan, I was even paying extra. Now, my income-based plan got more expensive. Current loan balance, after all this time in payments, $87,000. 14. Casinos. They want you to lose, and they'll ban you for winning a big payout. 15. The diamond industry, hands down. We've all been brainwashed by De Beers marketing campaigns from the 1930s and 40s that convinced the world diamonds are rare and a symbol of eternal love, when in reality, they're artificially scarce due to stockpiling and monopolistic control. Yet people still drop thousands on engagement rings because of tradition, while the industry rakes in billions exploiting conflict zones, blood diamonds, and inflating prices. It's a shiny scam wrapped in romance, and we're all suckers for it. And yes, I bought my wife a diamond engagement and wedding rings, just like all the rest of us suckers. 16. Credit scores. I was shocked to the core when I learned that my credit score in Canada meant jack shit when I moved to Denmark. There, the bank looks at your financial health and determines if your month-to-month can sustain something like a mortgage. None of this credit score bullshit. They do have a register of people who have been sorely delinquent, but it's like a binary thing. You're either on the shit list or you're not. And it takes a fair bit to get on it anyway. 17. Crypto meme coins. 18. Health insurance and being forced to pay for not having it. I have a friend who can't afford health insurance. He had an emergency and ended up in the hospital. Got stuck with a $25,000 bill and no way to pay it. 19. Paying for Prime Video and still having to rent or buy stuff there. 20. Homeopathy. It never fails. Anytime I see someone taking homeopathic medicine and point out they are unaware of what it even means. They just know they got it from a medicine aisle at the store. 21. Amway. It boggles me that they avoided getting shut down. 22. For-profit private prisons plus lobbyists. You could draw a red string to every evil part of our society and connect it back to these two legal things. 23. Video game microtransactions. They're a $38 billion a year market, and it's almost entirely a scam. 24. Chiropractors. There's been zero research to support chiropractic, and the founder canonically got the idea from a ghost. But people like Cracky Back Time, they have been convinced it helps, and pay millions of dollars yearly on nonsense. 25. Airline baggage and seat fees, as well as non-refundable tickets. Airlines that offer cheap fares, such as Spirit and Ryanair, but charge you outrageous check or even carry-on baggage fees. 26. It's the slow creep of everything becoming a subscription. You don't really own anything anymore. You're just renting it until they decide to change the terms. Even when you physically go somewhere, like a hotel, they've perfected the art of hiding the real cost behind a dozen mandatory fees. It feels like we're just getting nickel and dime from every single angle. 27. College. 4+ years and $100,000 plus on average. And students come out almost completely unprepared for the next phase of life, adulthood, and the workforce. In any other context, this would be considered scam. 28. Being taxed on stuff you've already paid for. Property taxes come to mind. 29. Realtors' pointless grift. It's shocking, especially in Canada. 30. The legal system itself. It literally just makes up what it wants. And if we don't agree, well, we can pay a lawyer a shit ton of money, pay a fine, or go to prison. This is probably a slightly cynical viewpoint, but it's not completely wrong. 31. Credit agencies. They decide your fate by a lil number, but cannot keep your data secure. 32. Lifetime welfare. As someone who grew up on welfare, my mom was perfectly capable of working, but the state made it so she didn't have to. So I grew up in poverty because of it. 33. Overdraft fees. Literally taxing the poor even more money they obviously can't afford. It's robbery. 34. Not the biggest, but small-town cops ticketing out-of-towners and speed traps as a means of revenue generation. Happened to me 3 times. And cops wonder why the public doesn't respect them. Public safety my ass. 35. Credit card late fees. The bank already knows you don't have money, so their solution is to charge you more money. Make it make sense. 36. Deaths. Sure, you have to report it. But if you just want to cremate, bury, compost, whatever to them, you cannot. Burial plots, coffins, vaults, everything is gouging. 37. Can we talk about fucking fees in general? Service fee, convenience fee, processing fee. Forced to buy tickets to events digitally, and the fees cost as much as the tickets. And the fees aren't a set price. The more expensive the tickets, the higher the fee. Last time I checked, it cost the same amount to process a digital ticket. 38. American health insurance companies. The most expensive and the worst per dollar outcomes in the world. Truly insane, hyper-lobbied, and only interested in extracting as much money from citizens, whether they live or die. 39. By dollar value, it is likely cryptocurrency. To head off the death threats, etc., there is nothing in its very nature that makes electronic currency necessarily a scam. However, as the market is currently unregulated, every new currency introduction, product, etc., is essentially a thinly veiled pump-and-dump scheme. It's much like that stock market would be if it were completely unregulated. And the current cryptocurrency market cap is around $4 trillion US, so that certainly places it among the biggest such things operating in the world. And all completely legal, of course. 40. The modern Republican Party is the biggest. At present, they are turning off all programs that benefit people who need those programs and reallocating the money toward themselves or projects that benefit them greatly, i.e., ICE, private prison companies, or any other large contributors like Tesla, Apple, Home Depot, and more. They also want to stay in power, whether people agree or not. So they are gerrymandering districts to favor the election of Republicans again and keep their majority, even while destroying the American way of life. Road projects don't benefit them, so bills for road improvements don't get passed. Election integrity could be harmful to their self-dealing, so they vote against improvements. Poor people vote against Republicans, so the programs that help are dissolved or defunded, like Medicare, Medicaid, education, veterans, and FEMA. The biggest legal scam is the modern Republican Party. 41. Free apps with in-app purchases. It's really just a fake subscription model to save your credentials to charge higher later. Sadly, this is in the terms and conditions that no one reads. But they save this payment method and charge you constantly. Even if you make attempts to contact them, they refuse refunds, claiming that they sent you a notice email from an alternative domain, which is contradictory and binding, even though they can't actually provide proof of this. These apps are still available on the Apple App Store, despite multiple reviews warning of the scam. Apple used to be really good at keeping the shit off their store, but they have really slipped over the last 7 years. 42. When you are asked to donate at checkout, they bundle it all and donate it to themselves. All you're doing is providing a tax write-off for the company. 43. Social Security. Give people options on how they want to invest it, or a cash-out option at 20 years of contribution. 44. The biggest one has to be credit card interest rates. They'll happily lend you money, make it super easy to spend, then slam you with 25 to 30% interest if you don't pay it off right away. Totally legal, but it's basically a trap for anyone just trying to get by. 45. Payday loans. 400% APR interest rates that trap poor people in debt cycles. Completely legal loan sharking. 46. Mormonism. The LDS Church is sitting on over $100 billion in tithing from all those poor Mormon souls. 47. The United States of America. Source: I Am European. Laughs in welfare and healthcare. 48. Medical insurance companies. They should not exist, or at least nothing like they do now. There is no legitimate reason to have medical insurance companies in 2025. The point of insurance is to create a risk pool to spread out the extreme cost of care that one single person or family in the pool would not be able to pay. Capitalism tells us that more competition drives down costs. But by creating more separate risk pools, it just increases costs. Even if you had a benevolent corporation with a pure monopoly that only gained a modest profit, it would only serve as a middleman to increase costs. Capitalism drives innovation. How? The administrative costs of Medicare beat out all private insurance companies. What else is there to innovate in this area? More ways to fuck us all over and not pay? This is why we need Medicare for all/single-payer healthcare. Then we tackle the separate question of why costs are so high for care in the first place. 49. The wellness industry. Alkaline water, detoxes, cleanses, etc. Mostly complete and total BS. 50. Health insurance. You pay the health insurance company money each month, so they can use a part of that money to hire lapdog doctors who say you don't need the treatment your real doctor says you need. 51. The lottery. How has nobody mentioned this? It's effectively a regressive state tax. 52. Tipping. And I'm literally a food service worker. I'd rather my company pay me more. 53. CDL drivers leasing a truck as owner-operators under a company's authority. You pay for the truck, the repairs, fuel, maintenance, all the taxes, but they tell you where you have to go and when. A buddy of mine did that for a little bit, then went back to his old job as a company driver. 54. Vet bills. It costs the same or more as human doctors. And I've been screwed by pet insurance not covering a relatively small amount because I couldn't get documentation that didn't exist. 55. The Supreme Court of America. The presidential offices at the moment, and the Republican Party who are allowing this scam. 56. The Catholic Church. 57. Fox News. 58. I was told that the resort fee went to things like the pool. The pool was closed for the winter, but they still charge for it. 59. MLM companies like Smart Circle, Credico are huge both in the US and overseas. Basically a legal pyramid scheme with hundreds of offices and thousands of employees. If you ever had some pushy salesman who was clearly making commission bother you about DirecTV in Costco or knocking on your front door. 60. Taxes. Too many on everything. The money never goes where it's needed. Those guys from Boston were right. 61. Paying US government taxes after 70 on everything they want. I hate 401ks, but that was my dumbass decision back when I was more sheeple. Roths were not available. And had they been, that's the path I would have chosen. Downside. Most companies only matched 401ks. I feel as everything I've worked for is to support DC in my golden years. 62. Health insurance companies denying coverage to physician-ordered procedures and medicines. 63. Emotional support animal/service dog certifications/registries. No certification/registry is required for legitimate service dogs/ESAs. 64. Toll roads. Why do we have to pay a toll when we pay taxes and registration fees? 65. The financialization activities of the market, stock buybacks, call and put options, equity firms being allowed to buy businesses and drive them into the ground. 66. Had one professor who wrote his own book. It was all 90% of big-time publishers' work. His edition was the worksheets that you had to tear out of it. You couldn't get credit for doing them if they were on anything that wasn't torn out of his book. With the pages missing, you couldn't sell it back when you were done with the class. That was 15 years ago, and I still get mad when I think about it. 67. Medication prices. Paxlovid is fucking $1,700 without insurance. Had to get a special card thing to bring the cost down, and it took all day calling and begging the company before they'd help me. After a circus of phone calls, they finally gave me a card to cover the cost, and I paid $0 at the pharmacy in the end. But I really think it's designed to be hard, so you give up and just go into debt to pay the high, crazy prices, to be honest. It's a scam. 68. Capitalism? The entire concept of being paid a wage in exchange for service is exploitation. Because why would an employer ever willingly pay you a fair wage equivalent to what you produce for them? 69. Resort/tourist fee. Come on, man, just put the price up a little. I don't need to think about paying another $50 in your local currency when I get there. Pretending it's so they can pay their employees more is a load of shit as well, because they then still expect you to tip them. 70. Companies that change their terms and services. 71. Digital video games costing the same amount as physical games, even though we cut out the middleman. 72. Real estate, it should be a flat rate, not commission-based. I put money, work, and sweat equity into my home, and the agent makes more money. How much harder do they work to sell a $500K house over a $600K house?
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Catch you in the next one.